Da-da-da-dee-da-da-da. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This right here is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride, and this particular ride features the Philadelphia Phillies as NL East champions for the first time in 13 seasons. Now, you may say that, they just hung on in the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, where they're now 31-30 since the All-Star. They're over 500, baby, since the All-Star break. You might say they just hung on. You might say they're lucky because of what happened to the Braves this season with injury after injury after injury and all that type jazz. I say to hell with it. The Philadelphia Phillies set out this spring training and said, you know what, it's not going to be good enough just to make the playoffs. We're going to win the division. We have our heart set on winning the division. We want to be the best going into the postseason, at least of the NL East. They have a very good chance here with 5 games left in the season, 6 games left for the Dodgers to actually be the best team in the National League, not just the division, going into the playoffs. That's something that I absolutely love. And I know it hasn't been the prettiest thing in the world since the All-Star break and a little bit before that, thanks Oakland A's, of course. But I hate to use this phrase, the Eagles ruined it last year. They found a way to hang on and at least win the division. It became a little too close for comfort at certain times with the way the Phillies have been playing in that second half. They found a way to at least close it out and win the NL East. Now it's the bigger thing, because if you were going to be 30 games over 500, if you were going to be on a pace at one point for 114 wins, which they were, and you barely hang on to win, let's say 96 games, or 93 right now. Let's give them 3 more wins in the last 5 games, and that's doable, right? Even with Tanner Banks going today. Then I would certainly at least love to see them win the division, which they did. And I'd love to see them hang on and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs and the World Series. Let's get to that World Series, huh? Really found a lot of things fitting about last night. But the number one thing that was that Aaron Nola is the one that closed it out. I'll talk about that. If you didn't hear me talk about that on Postcast last night, I'll certainly get into that today. Nick Sirianni addressed the media yesterday. Nick really can't help himself. The one thing that we're really getting into, I'll let you hear it from himself, because it's the first time we've heard this from Nick Sirianni. And it's him saying that basically every once in a while, here and there is the quote. Here and there, he calls plays. Say, what's that? Huh? Come again? Now, it shouldn't be that surprising that here and there, an offensive-minded head coach, quote unquote, would call plays for his offense. It shouldn't be unheard of. It shouldn't be shocking. We're now headed into week 4. We're in week 4 of the NFL. Throughout the entire offseason, through the first 3 weeks of the season, Kellen Moore calls the plays. Kellen Moore calls the plays. I'm the head coach. Kellen Moore calls the plays. The offensive coordinator is in charge of the offense. This is a big difference than what we have heard in the past. In the past, we have at the very least heard about the collaborative effort, which, by the way, when Nick Sirianni at the end of last year was addressing the media with Howie Roseman sitting next to him there at the NovaCare complex, and he was asked, okay, if this guy's in charge of that guy's in charge of this, then what do you do? Okay, it might sound like a condescending question or a disrespectful question, but it was totally legitimate, because we were so used to hearing Nick Sirianni talk about how everything's collaborative, and Brian Johnson calls the plays, I do the game plan, Brian calls the play, I do the game plan, Shane Steichen calls the plays, I do the game plan, that'll be my thing, And this was, now we're hearing different things. We're like, okay, hold on a second. So you're talking about control. You're talking about in charge of. So what do you do then? And in that moment, if I was Nick Sirianni's representative, and I said this at the time, this is not revisionist history, there's a better way to answer the question than just profess your job title. So what do you do to be the head coach? No, we understand that. But since you've been here, the head coach's responsibility has been ever-changing. And it's been dwindling, the responsibility of the head coach. If he would have said all this way back when, he would have saved himself a lot of trouble. And it wouldn't be as shocking to hear, oh, here every now and then I'm going to call the play. Because we would all be like, no, that makes sense. if he just really hit the points of collaborative, I don't think this would have been a shock to many people. I also find it very interesting, and I even said this yesterday after highlighting what Nick Sirianni said in his press conference after the win over the Saints, was that he called the play. He called the play on 4th and 1 with 15 seconds left in the first half to go to Saquon Barkley to line up in the tush-push formation and then run to the outside with Saquon. He called that play. I just want to be clear. I called that play. I called that play. It didn't work. That's on me. In the 4th and 3, that was his decision coming out of halftime. Didn't learn from his mistake. I don't get it. I don't. Anyway, I want to go off on that tangent right now, but I found it interesting that he went down that avenue immediately after the game to take that responsibility. And then yesterday, Dave Zangaro will let you hear the question and the answer of NBC Sports Philly, asked him the question. So how often are you going to call plays then? Oh, here and there. Okay. Can we not do that? Because I like it if Kellen did it. Because really the only problems I've had, to go back to, and look, I hope the Eagles win 10 games in a row so this becomes a distant memory. But and for other reasons too, obviously. But the 3rd and 3 to throw to Saquon Barkley, I still like the idea to go for it. I support the idea to go for it with the throw to go for the first down and not run the football in that instance. Don't need to rehash the entire thing, but I like the play call Kellen Moore drew up. I like Nick Sirianni going for it. My bigger issue in that game against the Falcons on Monday night a week ago was not kicking the field goal in the first half. That was my bigger issue. Or excuse me, on the second possession of the game, to be more specific. Not kicking the field goal, not taking the points in that situation. That early in the game, you take the points. I hated that at the end of the first half, the Eagles went for it with Saquon Barkley against the New Orleans Saints. Instead of kicking the field goal, just taking the points, and then coming out of halftime, you get the ball. I know what Nick Sirianni's philosophy was there. He's thinking he can take a couple of shots at the end zone. Yeah, not with my quarterback turning the football over at an alarming rate for the last now year plus. I'd rather him not take those shots in the end zone. I'd rather just on the road in the Superdome, take the points. They're right there for you. Hey, Jake Elliott, go get me 3 points. Thanks. We're going to come out of halftime. Then we're going to march the ball downfield. We're going to score. Let's do that. He didn't do it. And then did he learn from that mistake? No, he did the same thing in the second half. Right away, right with that first possession. How can I mess this up as much as possible? That's the position we're in right now, but also the position we're in is we're looking at a football team that's 2-1. All in all, I think I've found a way to sum up my general feeling around the Eagles right now, and it has everything to do with the head coach. It has a lot to do with the turnover-ready quarterback right now as well. But it all starts with the foundation. And the head coach is supposed to be a cornerstone piece of that foundation. And I have zero confidence in Nick Sirianni. Zero confidence. I listen to these players. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had his back going into New Orleans, coming out of the game, of course, against the Falcons. Nick Sirianni was referencing all the guys that has said that they have his back. Saquon Barkley talked about the message from Nick Sirianni. All this stuff, I have zero confidence in it. But these players seem to really like the head coach. If you listen to all these guys, they reference what coach said. The only one that you really don't hear that much from is Jalen Hurts. But Saquon Barkley went to the podium, was the first to talk to the media after the win over the Saints, and he talked about coach's message. He talked about the type of motivator Nick Sirianni could be. That's how coach is with us and supports us. And also, whatever his like, I go back to the flower power speech, and that did not go over well with most people. However, I don't know if it was the flower power speech itself that stirred up the locker room and made this team realize that they could play a lot better brand of football, or it was the idea that so many people reacted negatively to Nick Sirianni's speech in the media, myself included, and then made everybody else in the Eagles locker room go, no, we're going to show you that this is our guy. We can do this. So it's kind of difficult for me to tell, but here's the bottom line. He said what he said, and it worked. The team made the playoffs. They rallied. They made the playoffs. A year later, they were in the Super Bowl. A year later, Jalen Hurts is competing to be the MVP of the league. So whatever it is, I go back to the flower power speech, and I look at that and I say, that should have went over like a dud, and for whatever reason, the team rallied after it. Flower power. All right. We talking about football still? Okay. Anyway, his message, for whatever reason, seems to go over well with this team. And I know you can look at last year and say, well, where was it last year at the end of last year? Where was his message then? What was he going to say that was going to rally the team? Well, apparently nothing. Just like Jason Kelsey saying something wasn't going to do anything, just like Fletcher Cox saying something wasn't going to do anything, just like A.J. Brown eventually saying something wasn't going to do anything. Jalen Hurts wasn't going to do anything. Everything went wrong. Everything went wrong at the end of last year. But I found it wild that the two of the best leaders on the team, that granted are not here anymore, found a way to support their head coach on the way out and say it wasn't him. Okay. Now I am looking at this team and I'm saying the foundation that they're built on has a lot to do with their head coach. And I'm supposed to go, oh, yeah, this guy's got it. Yesterday, for instance, he's addressing the media during the press conference, and I think it was Jeff McClain asking him the questions about 4th and 1 in the first half, and then 4th and 3 coming out in the second half, of the first possession of the second half. And he's like, yeah, I gave you guys a lot of detail last week against the Falcons. That's not going to be the precedence. I'm not going to set that. Don't expect that. That's not what I'm going to do every single week, so I'm not going to do that. And then Jeff goes, so your philosophy there was you're going to take 2 shots? I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm going to take 2 shots. He can't help himself. But anyway, I really like so many players on this team, and I love the roster that's been put together by Howie Roseman and all that. And as someone who has been banging the drum for Dallas Goedert to be getting the ball for a long time and acknowledging how great a tight end he can be in the league if he's given the opportunity to show that he can catch the football. Like, think about this. This guy came into the league and was already a great run blocker. Dallas Goedert already was a great run blocker. And then, of course, started to work his way in to see the football a little bit more. And then you're like, okay, let's do that. So let's do that some more. You can have one of the best all-around tight ends in all of football. Nah, we don't need to. We don't. No need to use him. Huh? How that? And you finally see it. Now, look, do I think he's 170 yards a game type guy? Well, no, that'd be pretty amazing. But no, I don't think he's that. But to know that ability is there, I think it could have been 200 yards. And this isn't a knock on Jalen, but I believe it was the first reception by Dallas Goedert, the one that went for whatever it was, 40-some yards, I think it was, whatever. I don't remember. But it wasn't the long one in the fourth quarter. It was earlier in the game. Jalen airs that ball out a little bit more, leads him down the field. That's probably a touchdown. Could have had more than 170 yards. But, that's the game. I'm just glad that they finally figured out that, look, we could use this guy. This would be great. Saquon, I love being here, of course. Hopefully get these receivers healthy as soon as possible, and they're back out there doing their thing. Some bad news about Britton Covey yesterday, unfortunately. Going to miss 6 weeks, I believe it is, with the shoulder injury. There's a lot of guys on this roster that I like. Jalen Carter having his coming out party as well in that game was my number one thing looking at yesterday's game. Or excuse me, looking at Sunday's game. Jalen Carter's coming out party. Jordan Davis really showing you something there on the defensive line. Linebackers. Now 2 of the 3 weeks, the linebackers have very much impressed. Kobe Dean had a good game. Zach Bond had a great game. Reed Blankenship is there to ice games at the end. I didn't see that coming this year. Excuse me. But when it comes to the foundation piece, I look at the head coach of this football team, and I'm still looking at him going, I don't. If the whole thing is putting your team in the best position to win a game, I'm not seeing it. So we'll let you hear from Nick Sirianni and his explanation of play calling and his explanation of really his role in the offense, which apparently is a little bit more than we were led to believe by him. This isn't like, sources were saying Nick Sirianni is going to let Kellen Moore control the offense. No, this was Nick Sirianni. He's the source. He's the guy saying, I'm not going to do a lot. It's him. I'm going to pop into different meetings throughout the week. Okay. So all that. We're going to have some fun with that. It's going to be a good time. Going to be a fun show. Going to be a fun show. I'm telling you, it's going to be a fun show. Going to be good times. Let's start it off with your Philadelphia Phillies. They win 6-2 last night over the Chicago Cubs. Bullpen game, more or less, for the Cubs there. They had an opener in Pearson before going to Killian to pitch. Was it 6 innings last night? Whatever the hell he got. I don't even remember. But, yeah, that happened. But bottom line is they won. JT Realmuto got a 2-run home run. Kyle Schwarber hit a home run, 37th of the season. Schwarber also got to 100 RBIs on the season. That's pretty incredible. And Aaron Nola was on the hill. The word I used last night was serendipitous. I thought it was serendipitous that Aaron Nola was on the hill to clinch the Phillies' first division title in 13 years. Do you realize that Aaron Nola has been I think most people realize that he and Cole Hamels were teammates because Cole Hamels threw the no-hitter and then in Chicago and then against the Cubs. And then Aaron Nola pitched the next day. I'll never forget Hamels being in the clubhouse there at Wrigley Field going like, all right, who pitches tomorrow? And Nola was like, yeah, me. And it was just like, oh, good luck. Aaron Nola was also teammates with Chase Utley and Ryan Howard. Those were also his teammates. I think Chooch was traded because looking back at his rookie year, Aaron Nola's rookie year, I saw Cameron Rupp was catching him a lot. Yeah, Cameron Rupp, people. Cody Ashley was teammates with Aaron Nola. Dominic Brown was teammates with Aaron Nola. Like, let's think about this. That's how long this guy's been here. He was teammates with the guys that were there for the last great Phillies run. And now the guy that just happened to be on the mound in the second-to-last series of the season. With 6 games left, he's pitching that first game of the 6-game stretch to end the season. He has an opportunity to clinch it at home, and he does it. He pitches into the 7th inning. In total, he gets charged for 2 runs, and he was great last night. His sinker, two-seamer, whatever, was fantastic. The at-bat to Cody Bellinger in last night's game in the 6th inning was a thing of beauty. 3 pitches, 3 inside sinkers that had some of the best run I have seen on them all year long. First 2 pitches, Cody Bellinger, dude, those are strikes. If you didn't see this, you got to check it out later. 3 pitches to him. First 2 sinkers, tail in off the plate, or tail in towards the plate for a right or left-handed hitter. Tail back into the plate. They look like they had about 1.5 feet worth of run on them. And Cody Bellinger, after the second strike, he looks back at Tony Randazzo, the home plate umpire, and he's going, see, that's not a strike. That's not a strike. And Tony Randazzo, dude, that's a strike, man. I hate to tell you, but he's got great run tonight. So then what I loved was JT Realmuto then sets up on strike on the third pitch of the at-bat, sets up outside, and then real quick comes inside, right? And Nola throws another inside sinker. This one was a ball. It was a bad call by Randazzo, but hell with that. Cody Bellinger already dug his grave. And Aaron Nola threw him another one, and Bellinger just looked at it and went, oh, that's not a strike. Blah, 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 blah. Sit down. That situation of the game, I believe it was 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs. Phillies are up 6-0. Yeah, he got, earlier in the inning, got Vasquez to strike out a knuckle curveball. And then he got Talkman got the single to right field. Bush struck out on a 3-2 sink with nasty run. That probably of all the pitches he threw, that probably had the nastiest run, the one to Bush. Bush just sat down like, can't hit that. See you later. Mom, they're throwing sinkers. And then he sat down. And then you got this Suzuki got the double. 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. Cody Bellinger strikes out 3 inside sinkers. That was that 22 pitch inning for Aaron Nola in the 6th inning. Sat him down. What was really incredible, other than just the sinker last night, is that Aaron Nola, I believe it's in the 5th inning, he has a run ERA. His ERA is a run higher than any other inning in the 5th inning. So he goes into the 5th inning last night, and Horner grounds out to 3rd. Crow Armstrong hits a long fly ball, deep right center field. Back at the track is Johan Rojas. He raises up his mitt, makes the catch. That was the one I thought was going to be gone. That was the one where I was going to be like, oh, damn, 5th inning. They got him in the 5th inning again. Nope. Fly ball right field, basically. Excuse me. Fly ball to center field is the way that goes in the scorebook. and then Bethancourt flies out to left field. The 5th inning of last night's game, the toughest inning for Aaron Nola this season. 5 pitches. I think you'd be hard-pressed to go throughout this year, if not the career of Aaron Nola, and find a 5-pitch 5th inning, a 5-pitch 4th or 5th inning, and he threw 5 pitches in the 5th inning last night. Okay, that's where I felt. Other than being up 6-0, I felt, the Phillies are going to win this game. They actually went up 5-0 at the bottom of the 5th inning on Bethancourt's throwing error that went in the center field, allowing Bryce Harper to score from second base when they threw behind him and tried to pick him off at second there. But love that Aaron Nola was on the hill last night. Loved how good that 2-seamer looked last night. And just the fact that the history he has here at the ballpark. And with the win, I believe he now passes Cole Hamels for the most wins by a pitcher at CBP. Not bad. That also means you've been around here for a long time. So number one takeaway from last night's game is Nola was on the mound for it. JT Realmuto, again, fitting. The guy I remember the most from spring training talking about how it's not going to be good enough to just win the NL East, or excuse me, to just be a wild card team. You got to win the NL East, was JT Realmuto. And JT Realmuto went out there in the 2nd inning of the game, blasted off a 2-run home run to center field to give the Phillies and Aaron Nola a 2-0 lead. Set the tone, baby. And also, by the way, lifted me up a little bit because of all the little pet peeves you might have in sports, one of my biggest pet peeves in the sport, just in sports in general, it's in baseball. When the batter in front of you, you're coming up to bat, the guy in front of you just walked on 4 pitches. And the pitcher last night, who was Pearson in this instance, starting off the game, opening up the game, couldn't locate his fastball, threw 4 straight balls to Bryce Harper, and then you come up and you swing at the first pitch. Drives me bananas when I see that. Alec Boehm did it in the 1st inning, and full instant rage mode. If there's a rage button, boom, that pushes the button. All right. So now you go into the 2nd inning, and this is after the Phillies have been struggling, 9 hits in the last 2 games against the Mets. They come in here against the Cubs, and you have a situation there with one of your best hitters in Alec Boehm up at the plate. First pitch grounds out to shortstop. That's that. Cool. Thanks. Thought you might be able to get the Cubs to change their plans a little bit. Turned out it didn't matter because JT's home run lifted him up. 2-run home run, fantastic. Following inning, Kyle Schwarber goes up there, starts to count 0-2, works to 2-2, gets the changeup that stayed up just a little bit in the zone, a little bit too much. 412-foot home run. 37th of the season for Kyle Schwarber. They get another RBI by Nick Castellanos, an RBI single to left, makes it a 4-0 game. Thought Realmuto was going to do something special again. Got a 3-0 count in the 3rd inning, and then it went to full. Thought he was going to tee off on one of them. He didn't, and I'm grounding out to shortstop to end it. They tack on another one, as I mentioned before, with the Bethancourt throwing error, bringing home Bryce Harper, get another run on Kyle Schwarber's ground out. Double play, actually, in the 6th inning to make it a 6-0 game. And then they finally got to Nola. He was at 86 pitches at the start of the 7th inning. He finished with 102. Bethancourt actually laid out a bunt that Alec Boehm couldn't handle, and that made it was a bases loaded situation then. That's when they bases loaded, no outs. Nola out, Strom comes in, gets Winston to strike out, foul tipping on a fastball away. 3-2 pitch was 0-2, took it to full count. Tauchman went on there, got the RBI on the ground out to 3rd, or should we ground out to 1st. Horner scored on that one, and then Bush grounded out to 2nd. And that was actually a good play by Bryson Stott, getting that tough hop. And, it's just 6-2 at the end of the 7th inning. And Phillies rode it the rest of the way. Jeff Hoffman came in, did his thing. Carlos Estevez made it interesting, but closed it out. And then the celebration began. Man, nobody parties like baseball. I'll say that. Sipping champagne when you clinch the playoff spot. It looked like tubs upon tubs upon tubs, like laundry tubs full of just Bud Light. This is nothing you haven't seen before, but it's good for them. They're partying. They won the division. Good for them. They earned it. Yes, Garrett Stubbs was in his overalls, and he was trying to see how many Bud Lights he could fit in his overalls. Good for Garrett Stubbs. Of all the things that were said last night, the thing that's going to really stick in my brain was Rob Thompson addresses the clubhouse. They're all standing there with a bottle of champagne, bottles of beer, and they're ready just to shake them things up and just go bananas. Right before they do that, Rob Thompson brings in John Middleton, who's been standing there the whole time. And John Middleton, this happened great on live TV, gave his famous line, made famous by Mike Sealski's article in Inquirer years ago, "I want my bleeping trophy back." And John Middleton addresses the team, says, "I'm proud of you guys. You guys are great. Love you guys. You're wonderful. I want my bleeping trophy back." And then the place explodes with a sea and tidal wave, I should say, of Bud Light and Budweiser and champagne. People smoking cigars, doing their interviews, reporters with the goggles on, their hoodies up, the whole thing, trying to get all the info from these guys. I love the part when the guys leave the clubhouse to go talk to their families that are still out there on the field, but that's great. And looking at that team, for what they've been through this year, what they've been through over the last couple of years, I'm extremely excited for what the Phillies could do in the postseason. I'd love to see them get home field advantage. I'd love to see them somehow get over the Dodgers. Dodgers have a 3-game series where they're hosting the Padres. They have a 3-game series then to end the season, just like the Phillies on the road against an inferior opponent. The Dodgers have the Rockies. So they have the Padres in L.A., and then they go to Colorado to face the Rockies. Phillies, of course, have 2 more games left against the Chicago Cubs before going to D.C. to take on the Nationals for 3. Phillies right now, as it sits in the division, or excuse me, in the National League, Phillies are in a situation right now overall where they're a half game behind the Dodgers. They're a half game above the New York Yankees, who were idle last night. That's in the American League, obviously. Padres are 3 games out. So it's really in the National League a 2-horse race. As long as it's going to be wild. But go close it out. Some other shout-outs I want to make sure I get to. Bryce Harper. Over the last 2 months, Bryce Harper, as we know, the power hasn't been there. He's had one brief surge. But other than that, it hasn't been there. He has found a way still to help this team win baseball games. And whether it's doubles, whether it's playing Gold Glove first base, whatever it is, he's finding a way to help this team win games. He's been a big part of it despite the power not being there. With the elbow injury, the wrist injury, I mean, what would you rather do in that situation? Would you rather move Alec Boehm over there to first? Would you rather have Edmundo Sosa play third base? What would be the goal? Cody Clemens? Weston Wilson? Like, think about this. Think about the drop-off that you would have. No, thanks. I don't want that. I want to keep Bryce Harper at first base. And I know when people talk about Bryce Harper right now, they're talking about that lack of power. They might be talking about lollygagging from time to time. I get it, but I still admire the hell out of the guy for last year learning a new position just to come in and help the team win, and he helped them get to within a second consecutive World Series, within 1 win of getting back to a back-to-back World Series. And I also give him credit for fighting through the injuries this year and playing an even better brand of baseball at first base. Give him all the credit in the world for that. Somebody else deserves a shout-out. Talk about struggling offensively, not just in the power department, but just overall all year. There's not 1 month you really look at Bryson Stott and go, that's the guy right there that John Kruk was talking about last year that could be a batting champ one day. His best batting average in a month this season was .265. Bryson Stott. If you would have told me that going into the season, I was saying like, oh, did he do that every month then? And he hit .265? No, he didn't do that every month. He did that in 1 month. He had .265. That's his best month this year. The entire season has been a struggle for Bryson Stott. But you know what Bryson Stott has done? Played incredible played incredible second base. Gold Glove worthy second base. Was he an all-star like Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, and Bryce Harper? No. But he might get himself a Gold Glove this year with the defense he was able to play at that position. Pretty damn good. So want to make sure I shouted him out. And then leadership of Kyle Schwarber. I still can't get over the in-game interview of Kyle Schwarber against the Mets on ESPN, where he was talking about, going over the iPad, watching the game, iPad, hitting some BP in the cage there, and then helping out other guys on the team with their at-bats. So you have essentially another hitting coach for the Phils and Kyle Schwarber. I absolutely love that. And when you also think, and you continue to think about Kyle Schwarber this year, Kyle Schwarber hit 250. He's hitting 250 this season. Home run numbers are down. Outside chance now to get 4. Hey, he could get 3 home runs in a game, so he could get 40 at least again. 100 RBIs for Kyle Schwarber this year. I mentioned that earlier. But you're also talking about a guy who raised his batting average 53 points. 53 points. He raised his batting average. On-base percentage, 367. That was up from last year as well. I mean, that's a leadoff hitter. On-base percentage, 367. Modern-day leadoff hitter. Home runs, RBIs, walks, on-base percentage. That's the guy I want at the top of the order. Last year, maybe, not so much. This year, yeah. He knew he was a better hitter. And last year when we talked about no shift, we talked about, okay, I'm interested to see what that does for Kyle Schwarber's batting average. Well, last year it didn't do anything. He hit under 200. This year, seemed to do something. 53 points he raised his batting average. Can we talk about that more? Instead of he's not a leadoff hitter. Well, it seems to work pretty well. Oh, and did I mention he also set a major league record for leadoff home runs in the season? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So shout out Kyle Schwarber. Alec Boehm, last night wasn't a great example of it, but just a continued improvement at third base. And then the other guys that I really want to make sure that I get their due. Weston Wilson, Cody Clemens, Cal Stevenson, Edmundo Sosa. I mean, when Trey Turner was out for, a month and a half, Edmundo Sosa came up and hit 320. Like, what? The next man up mentality of this Phillies team for the majority of the season has been pretty special. Getting a great start. First month of the year, Spencer Turnbull was unbelievable. Great to see him get some rehab time. Hopefully he can find a way to help the Phillies win, maybe get on the roster there for the postseason. If it comes down to him or Taijuan Walker, I think you all know who we'd want to see. But yeah, just the guys that have stepped up to help this team win games this year. I mean, I've referenced it many times. Christian Pache helped you win a game here against the Marlins. The unsung heroes through a 162-game season deserve some singing today after you clinched the NL East. Now, hey, look, the job's not done. One thing I do think about, and this is, I guess, the party police in me, is when I see all the champagne and I see all the beer and I see the cigars and everyone's excited. And I still think, and it's something I realized actually when watching the 93 Phillies documentary, which, funny enough, Nick Sirianni said the other day he showed his team. He didn't say when he showed the Eagles, but he said when his message, what he feels like he's been saying the same thing and it's getting lost, he'll have somebody else say it. Whether that's Jalen Hurts in the locker room or or he'll allow somebody else to say it and he'll step back. He said one of the things he did was look at the 93 Phillies documentary, High Hopes, which is still one of my favorite things ever, that documentary. And he said he'll just show his team, like, look at how these guys came together. Listen to John Kruk talk about how he'd be in the trainer's room sitting on a chair with 2 pitchers of beer, 2 packs of cigarettes. Darren Dalton be laying over there getting his knees iced up. Nails would be over there with Chew or whatever, and they'd just be talking baseball. Well, one of the things I remember from that documentary, and I've heard Dyke talk about it since, is that with the Mets, he knew there was still a lot of work to be done. And in '93, when they won the National League, he was sitting there in the clubhouse, and I think he might have been having a beer, but he wasn't like jumping up and down and celebrating because he was still thinking about the work that's there to be done. The Phillies still have work that's there to be done. They have a lot of work that has to be done. As excited, as happy as I am for everybody on this roster and how great, look, we're talking about a team that hasn't won 93 games since 2011, since the last time they actually won the NL East. We're talking about a team that's now 1 game over 500 since the All-Star break. All right, that ain't a brag. When you look at what the teams like the Diamondbacks have done since then, what the Mets have done since then, what the Mets have done since they got back from London, 20 games over 500, that's pretty damn good. I think I said a couple of weeks ago they were 30. That was inaccurate. 20. So that's pretty damn good. Not to be the party police, but, man, the Phillies still have a lot of work to be done. And I think any Phillies fan, and I include myself in this, we got trust issues with this Phillies team. especially when it comes to this Phillies offense. We got major trust issues. And you know the reasons why. Teeing off in a World Series to getting no hit in a World Series. Teeing off in the playoffs last year to going ice cold. There is one thing, though. There's no Craig Kimbrell. Like, who's going to be that? What, are you going to bring in Taijuan Walker in a crucial situation? Like, come on, that'd just be crazy, right? He's not going to do that, right? He's not going to do that, right? All right. But, yeah. So Phillies have 5 games left in the season. Their goal, their mission, they choose to accept it, is to leapfrog the Dodgers. Win one more game than the Dodgers between now and the end of the season. That's it. That's it. That'd be great. That'd be great. Thanks. Okay. Phillies back at it, 6:40 start time. Tanner Banks will be the opener tonight, so hopefully he went easy on the boozy last night. He'll be the opener for the Phils in tonight's game. I'll get to that other thing that I was going to get to with them later. Let's talk football. So Nick Sirianni, he's the head coach of the football team. I know that because he reminds us. It's been kind of questionable as to what his responsibilities are. Derek Gunn talked about this on the pre- and post-game show. My understanding of the whole situation is that Nick Sirianni's job, when you try to answer, what is it that Nick Sirianni does? My answer to that question is, well, he is the guidance counselor of the team. He gives the messages, okay, sends a good message apparently, and he decides if they're going to go for it on 4th down. He decides whether or not they're going to defer to the second half. Those are the things. That's it. And even those things, there's a great amount of influence from other people, whether that's analytics, most likely, past experience. He's going to decide whether or not to go for it. So when I look at the decision to go for it against the Falcons with the second possession of the game and they fail, I look at Nick Sirianni and go, that was dumb. Just take the points, bro. At the end of the first half against the Saints, when you don't kick the field goal on 4th and 1, and he decides to go for it, not hindsight, but in the moment, I don't like him going for it. Coming out of the second half, 4th and 3, in Saints territory, he decides to not kick the field goal again and decides to go for it, and Jalen Hurts gets sacked for a loss of 6 yards. Stupid is what we're dealing with here. That's stupid. I didn't like his decision-making. Play calling, I thought this year so far by Kellen Moore has been pretty damn good. I mean, just giving us motion is just such a breath of fresh air. Offensively speaking, my biggest gripe is just the turnovers, but the decision-making by Nick Sirianni has not put his team in the best position to win games, unfortunately. So finally, after last week, listening to him talk about how Kellen calls the plays, if you want to stir that up, Kellen calls the plays. Look, that is the definition of throwing someone under the bus. Sung a different song this time around. After this loss and failing, despite 2 decisions there to go for it on 4th down, that was my play call. That was my decision. That wasn't Kellen. That was me. Just to be clear, that was on me. So then in this press conference, he's talking more about his responsibilities. And Dave Zingaro, you'll hear him right here. Dave Zingaro, NBC Sports Philadelphia, asked him the question. Here it is.
Hey, Nick, how often will you decide to call a play on offense, and what determines when you do?
Yeah, just, I don't say a number, but here and there, that's going to happen. And that's regardless of, whether it was 21, 22, 23, or 24. We're all coming up with the game plan together. We're all putting in the work together. We got good minds on the offensive side and defensive side. And so, you talk through things. Kellen's obviously the one calling plays, but everything is collaborative as far as the way we go through our process and in game. That just because I did it in that one, that doesn't mean there's not a play that Kevin Patullo's not saying in the ear of Kellen, hey, what do you think about this there? And Kellen going, yeah, I like that idea. Or, Jeff Stoutland or Jason Michael on a run play particularly, or TJ on a run play saying, hey, they're doing this in this scenario. What do you think about this? Now,
I
just, I don't say a number, but here and there.
No. Get away. Stop. To say here and there is probably exaggerating how much he calls a play. I'll say when they made the decision in the first half there against the Saints to not kick the field goal and go for it, I told you. And I went back and watched it, and I was like, just to make sure I wasn't wrong here, let me go back and watch this. So I went back and I watched the game, and I went right to this play. And Nick Sirianni is giving the news. It looks like he's giving the news to Jalen Hurts. They call the timeout, their second timeout. But he's giving the news to Jalen Hurts. We're going to go for this. And the look on Jalen Hurts' face was like, surprise. Like, are you sure about this? This isn't where you shine. We should probably take the points. Being that we have none of them, we're losing, and we can at least go into halftime tied. Let's just do that. No, we're going to go for it. All right. So Nick Sirianni is calling plays here and there. And then he goes on to list just about every coach on the staff. So what you're telling me is that you have the same amount of input on play calling as the rest of your offensive coaches, including Jeff Stoutland, your run game coordinator, and yes, offensive line head coach or offensive line coach. So really, here's the thing. I think Nick Sirianni really gets tripped up in his own words. I think when something gets thought here, it doesn't always leave. When something goes into his head, it doesn't exactly leave his head with the same intent. And I think he's trying to take some responsibility here, and then he waters it down by saying, well, look at everybody else. Everybody else call plays too. Like, this is what everything's collaborative. I'm sure that everything's collaborative. I don't think that Kellen Moore was just locking the door and not letting Sirianni in there. I don't think Kellen Moore just cut off the headset from the microphone of Nick Sirianni to Kellen Moore's headset. I don't think he just hit the off button there. I think everybody's talking, everybody's communicating. So now, what are you going to do? Call play here and there, here and there. So everybody. So it's not that different. I still think, regardless of him saying here and there, he's going to call a play, it's still a lot different than what we're used to. Now, but look, we went into this season with the report. I believe it was Tim McManus of ESPN that came out there with the story about how Brian Johnson really didn't have a lot to say. Really, Nick Sirianni was calling the plays. And that led to a strained relationship with Jalen Hurts, and then an extremely strained, near-fractured relationship when Brian Johnson was fired and Nick Sirianni was retained. Nothing's really changed all that much. Do I want to hear that Nick Sirianni is calling plays here and there? No. But here's what I do believe. My argument about Nick Sirianni getting the blame, too much blame for the end of the game against the Falcons with the Saquon Barkley drop, was that Kellen Moore is going to call that play, and he did call that play. Nick Sirianni is going to decide that, we're going to keep running, or we're going to keep going for it. We're going to try to get the first down here. He might decide that, and then he certainly decided to kick the field goal on 4th and short in that game. And afterwards, he basically said as much. But Nick Sirianni is not going to overrule Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore calls a play, I very much doubt Nick Sirianni, even though he's the head coach, is being like, no, Kellen, we're not doing that. We're going to do this. And the reason for that is, who brought in Kellen Moore again? It wasn't Nick Sirianni. No matter how many times he tells you he hired him. Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie brought in Kellen Moore. There is no way Nick Sirianni is going to overrule Kellen Moore and in turn overrule Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and say, hey, this guy you brought in here, I got this one. Lost the game. It's not going to go down like that. But he might get ahead of it and then leave it up to Kellen Moore to tell his head coach to go to hell. I don't think he's doing that. It's not different than anybody else having input. I think we all realize that Nick Sirianni was going to have some input. He could have done himself a huge favor earlier in the season at the end of last year when they had their little press conference there and talked about how much power the new offensive coordinator was going to have, he could have done himself a lot of favors by being like, well, everything's going to be collaborative, and I'm still going to be involved in the game plan, but we designated a play caller. Yeah, will there be little points where everyone has an input? Absolutely. But Kellen Moore, or in that case, at that time, the new offensive coordinator will be in charge of the offense. The rest of my thoughts on this subject can be summed up by Vic Fangio. Thank you, Vic Fangio. Hey, let me tell you about MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Pharmacy. Get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Take advantage of all they have to offer at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Hey, how about the incredible people of the Game Time app? Want to go to the game? Phil's got 2 games left in the season, folks. You want to see some hungover Phils play some baseball? Game Time app. That's you covered. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code FARZY and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. They also have last-minute ticket deals, flash ticket deals. They even have ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. Take advantage of all they have to offer at the Game Time app. How about this? Game Time Picks. Don't forget about Game Time Picks. This filters out all the fluff, so you cut right to the chase when it comes to Game Time Picks. You see the best prices on the best seats available on Game Time Picks with the Game Time app. Also, toggle the all-in pricing feature so you don't get that sticker shock at the end when you go to check out. How did these $20 tickets become $40? What's going on there? Now with Game Time all-in pricing feature. You see the price before you check out. You can also view your seat before you buy it, so you literally take the guesswork out of buying tickets. And how about the Game Time guarantee? If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less money elsewhere, the Game Time app will refund your account 110% of the difference. How about that? So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARZY, get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you guys are doing on this fine championship Tuesday, NL Championship Tuesday. Tate Jeffries, Phillies wanted the clinch at home. That is all. I want to believe that, Tate. I really want to believe that. But I also think it would be nice to take a little bit of the soul of the Mets before they go into the postseason. Jeff Lipschitz, what's going on? How you doing? Morning, Mark. Good morning. I want to see the Phillies the best, get the bye, then or best of the best play the Brewers, then the Dodgers, then Yankees in the World Series. Yeah. I like that road. I like that road. April, morning. Ring the bell. Hope you had a lovely birthday, April. That was their birthday gift to you yesterday, the Phillies. Sean Kilrain, hello. Jason A, morning. Morning, fam. Good morning, Jason. How about our boys finally getting the division? It is awesome. Jason A, I'm worried about Sirianni for sure. Where is the Vic Fangio soundbite when you need it? I didn't even see it. That's forever funny to me. You know what the worst is? This is the worst. I'll tell you the worst. It's when you make this sound as a dad, and you're down, you're seated, you sit down, and then they go, "Oh, hey, could you get me?" Somebody in the family. Okay, could you get me? Oh, before you sit down, I already made the sound. I already sat down. Could you get little Toots and milk? Not that my wife calls her little Toots, but anyway. That's the worst, when you make the sound and then someone's like, "Oh, could you get?" The worst. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Ooh, Jason A, hyped for the Sixers. How about that? How about you saying that? I'm hyped for the Sixers, too. Mia Sanchez. NL East champs, first time since you were 13 when that happened. Bang, bang, boom. Similar to the playoff drought. Love the professionalism, less hard work left. Yeah. James Alexander, hello. Good morning, Farzy. Let's fight for the first round bye. I'm still excited that my Sixers season is around the corner. We all should be glad that our Eagles won. We don't need more negativity. Well, yeah. Here's the thing. I don't like When people are like, "Oh, it's so negative," I was like, "What do you just want me to tell you how great they are all the time?" We have to talk about the blemishes, unfortunately. Is it being negative or is it being real? You know what I mean? That's where I draw the line. Eric Hurts is a turnover machine. Yeah, and it's scary. I'd like him to stop being a turnover machine. James Alexander, a 58-win season for the Sixers. Let's do it. That's some optimism. Ken, Saad, what's happening? Philadelphia Phillies aren't looking good. Sure, they won, but they aren't dominating like in the spring. They've dropped off. I hope they can get back. Playoffs are tough. We'll see. Yeah. Ken Saad, hello. Eagles making waves despite the POS quarterback holding them back. Really? I mean, I don't think he's a POS. I think it's a turnover machine, and he needs to stop that. We're screwed with him at the helm. Sorry, brother. I see it like I call it. Don't ever apologize for opinions. That's the way you feel. I can understand it. Turnovers in the end zone? That's not good. That's not good. I love Dan Orlovsky. He's a great guy. I really love how he breaks down football. But he talked about how that was Devontae Smith's fault on the interception. I disagree. Like, could Devontae Smith have made a better play? Yeah. But here's the way I break it down when I'm trying to distribute fault. If somebody else has to make a great play, like if Devontae Smith had to cut in front of Honey Badger and make that play, that would have been a great adjustment by him. Jalen Hurts not throwing that football also would have been a better decision. And the thing that does suck, and I pointed this out yesterday, but those who didn't hear it, Jalen Hurts on that interception, when I went back and looked at it, I was expecting him to be staring down the middle of the field. And he wasn't. He was looking to his left. And then he came back, and then he made the throw. So he's trying to look off the safety. Well, the problem was, I believe there was two safeties. He looked off one of them, not the second one. Honey Badger sitting right there. Honey Badger got the ball. Just say, what a great celebration with this team. The team knows how to party. They sure do. T-Bro! Same Farzy, I yelled at my kid because Bomer swung at the first pitch after Harper. It's just like wearing your white shirt after Labor Day, fully buttoned. That it is after Labor Day, right? Yeah. Well, it's not. It is. I mean, I'm talking about the rule. Ooh, I don't have my pins in either. Oh, I'm disheveled. Let me look at my rack of shirts. Nah, I'm not changing. Not now. IBA, not sure how many Phillies will be in condition to play tonight. April, so glad they're not starting Walker. Yeah. Jeff, NFL is nuts. Cincy and Baltimore, Jaguars, Cowboys, combined 3-12. Wow, that's insane. That is insane. Smooge. I don't know what this name is. SMDJ. JJ. I'll just call you J. All right. Nick. That's what he means to say. Nick is full of ish. Jay Snake. Damn. I knew he was calling plays. A lot of fans were saying the same, that at time the offense looks chunky like Sirianni's offense instead of Kellen's. Here's the thing. This is not as alarming to me as some people are taking it. Kellen Moore is calling the plays. Nick Sirianni still has input. Nick Sirianni apparently has the same amount of input as every other offensive coach, or offensive-minded coach, I should say. Whether it's Kevin Pasulo, whether it's Jeff Stoutland, they can all pretty much make suggestions. It's just that when the head coach is making a suggestion, it's going to happen most likely. And here's the other thing. Jalen Hurts can always just change the play at the line of scrimmage, too. Not that, I mean, you still got to go with that personnel, but it is what it is. Hunt for Red October. Sean Kilrain. Love Red October. Wait, hold on. DK, my wife lost it when the announcers called out kids in the stands saying they weren't born yet the last time we won the East. Laugh out loud. Wow. I didn't hear them say that. That's funny. It was the home broadcast. Eric was this. Maybe Hurts needs glasses. Ricky Vaughn glasses. Like Hurts just comes in with the fat black frames and the skull and crossbones. That's what he needs. Oh, Eric, there's a prediction. Morgan Frost, Mofro, will have more goals than Hurts touchdowns. Oh, boy. Jason, what do you think the Eagles need to trade for the most? Ooh, that's an early question. A head coach? No. What do the Eagles need to trade for? I mean, an edge rusher would sound lovely because Bryce Huff sucks. I'd go edge rusher. D tackle, you might be set now. Yeah, as of right now, edge rusher. That's what I'd go with. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful. As per usual, let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. The Commanders won last night. Jaden Daniels throwing dimes last night to beat the Bengals. That happened. What did he finish with? It was 38-33 in favor of the Commanders. They're now 2-1 on the season as well. Jaden Daniels, 21-23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another, ran 12 times for 39 yards. And the last touchdown throw that he had in the game was an absolute dime. Used to have that final catch. Beat that boop. No, it was Terry McLaurin. Excuse me. 27-yard pass down the right side of the field. Jaden Daniels is getting tackled as he's releasing the football. Drops it in the bread basket. That was something. That was a gorgeous throw. And that extended their lead from 31-26 to 38-26. And then that was all she wrote, baby. They took care of that. Also, looks like Doug Peterson's going to get fired in the very near future. On the other side of the Monday night doubleheader, which I hate, but they did it because the NFL can do anything, and we're going to find a way to watch because that's how we do things. The other side of that, the Bills beat the Jaguars 47-10. Yeah, Josh Allen was really good in that game, it says the least. The Jags are now 0-3 on the season. Not looking particularly great for Doug Peterson. Like, the Jags played a game last night, from what I watched, that was like they didn't know they were going to Buffalo to play a game. That's how they played. They're like, oh, we're just going to Buffalo on a business trip? Oh, okay. Oh, we're playing? Oh. No way. That was pretty pathetic. 0-3. Dougie P going to get canned, probably, which you hate to see. Phillies back at it tonight, 6:40 start time. As I mentioned, Tanner Banks is going to be the opener for the Phillies tonight. So, yeah, let's watch some hungover Phils play baseball. That'll be fun. That'll be a good time. That'll be a real good time. Justin Steele gets the start, so technically a lefty-lefty start tonight. Justin Steele 5-5 of the season with a 3.03 ERA. As the Phillies still try to keep on winning there. His last outing, he went 2 2/3 against the Oakland A's, did not allow a run, earned or other. 2 hits before that, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits against the Pirates. That's the way that one went down. Back on the 22nd of August, he started against the Tigers, who have turned things around since the Phillies saw him earlier in the season. Went 7 innings, allowing 2 runs on 4 hits. Did give up a home run. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Just made it over 1,000 subs. Started back in April. So thank you for all the support for that channel. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well for all your Eagles pre- and post-game needs also. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzad. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Be back with you guys tonight following some hungover baseball at the ballpark with the Phillies taking on the Cubs on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia. See yous guys tonight. Ugh. Just kidding. Love you guys. See you tonight. Bye.